This episode of XIV Reborn is brought to you by Audible. For a free 30-day trial, head on over to audible.com/gamebreaker. You get a free month and a free book.
Gamebreaker TV.
Hello, Internet, and welcome to XIV Reborn, episode number 30 for March 18th, 2014. You're watching Gamebreaker TV. I'm Mike Byrne, and on today's show, damn, we've got a lot to cover. The patch 2.2 trailer is out. The official patch website reveals even more info. Then there's interviews, veteran rewards, subscriber counts, all those things get updates. So helping me dig into it, you know him, he's with me every week, Mr. Michael Poveromo.
They know who I am. Let's go.
Mr. Happy, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. Let's go. They know who I am.
He's anxious to get into it.
Steam on ahead.
Anxious to get into it. Well, we've kept it at 2 hosts this week so that the show is not 7 hours long. It's probably going to be a little on the long side anyway. So, chat, hang out, sit back, relax, get yourself a drink. First up, I think we got to start with the trailer. I mean, that seems like the best place to start. We'll hit the site, we'll come back to the site, and mop up a few loose ends. But the patch 2.2 trailer finally dropped, and in my opinion, at least, it didn't disappoint. Before we pull it all apart, piece by piece, what are your overall impressions? 2.1's trailer we all generally considered to be a pretty badass trailer. Did this one live up to it for you?
Let's see. Awesome music? Check. New primal? Check. New raid? Check. Vanity stuff? Check. Gardening? Big fishing? Check. New crafting recipes? Check. Yeah, no, it was pretty good. Yeah.
It lived up to the Mr. Happy hype. All right.
The only thing is, I'm going to say this, it was 2 minutes shorter than the 2.1 trailer. I was a little disappointed about that, but
it was. All right, so we're going to go through all 8 amazing minutes, and it'll probably take us 40 minutes to do that. But starting off the trailer, fittingly enough, we saw a sneak peek at the upcoming Leviathan fight. Makes sense, through the Maelstrom. Mechanic-wise, it was only a few seconds long, and they didn't reveal a ton, but it did look like we can expect to see some like one-shot mechanics a la Titan, didn't it?
I don't know, because usually when they show off a fight, and it's like I remember when they showed off both Titan Hard Mode and Titan Extreme, when they showed people getting hit by a landslide, they wanted you to see that aspect. Now, there's not saying that those mechanics can't be there. To me, it looked more along the lines of if you're too close to Leviathan during some of those mechanics, it'll just insta-kill you, but not take you out of the fight like Titan's landslide. Just my impressions of it.
See, I thought the one ability right off the bat, the one they showed first as soon as he's summoned, yeah, he does the belly flop, and the raft that everybody's on kicks up and everybody gets drawn towards the wave. I don't know, that looks like a potential one-shot mechanic. It'll shoot you off the edge into the ocean or into that crashing wave on the other side for some massive damage. It looked like to me there was potential for, if you're not in the right place, you're going to die. So anticipate and be in the right place, kind of like the Titan landslide stuff we're used to.
Yeah, I mean, though, it looked like it was definitely one-shot. To me, it just didn't look like an unrecoverable one-shot. I mean, it could technically, but I don't see it being that. That would mean to me, that would sort of mean they would have to have designed the entire area around the outside of the boat and under the water, however deep that might be. And even just looking at it from a area design aspect, I don't think it has that much put into it. I just think it's going to be if you're there, you get one shot. That's all I think.
You don't think we're going into the ocean at all? Come on, that would be pretty cool, right?
Because trust me,
knocked off the raft in the ocean.
If Yoshi P said 2 or 3 tries and you should be able to beat it,
right?
If it had those kind of mechanics, might not be that way for some people.
Well, for some people, it's still not going to be anyway. Come on. I hope there's something. I want to be off that raft. I want to drown. That'd be really cool, I think. I don't want to get damage on the platform. Come on, that'd be sweet, wouldn't it? Getting your ass knocked off to the bottom of the ocean, you got to watch the fight from down there.
It would be sweet. You know, it would be just as sweet, the Reddit and official forum posts to follow it.
Oh, God. It was really cool to see the primal fighting in 3 dimensions, though. It looked like Leviathan was taking damage, whether the headpiece was right on raft level or whether it was up above or flying by. You can even see some spellcasting animations going off on Leviathan. I mean, we have Mog and Garuda, which technically they're flying creatures, but for all intents and purposes, they stay within a 2-dimensional playing space. This looks like there's just shit going everywhere, which I really dig.
Yeah, I definitely can't complain. I mean, I have no doubt that Square Enix can make a beautiful-looking fighting arena and definitely make it a pleasure to look at, but I want to see the fight itself. Sure, it can look beautiful, but I want to see how the fight plays out in the end. You know, looks are one thing, but gameplay is another.
That's what Mama always said. There's
Mama happy.
2 modes. We're getting the hard mode, which is going to be part of the storyline. And that's the one that Yoshi P is referencing. 3 or 4 tries, and you should have the mechanics down that you'd be able to beat it. And that makes sense, it being part of the story progression. But then we're also automatically getting the extreme mode. We don't have to wait for it. And that one, I think, has the potential to just be absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, we've already seen that, despite being what some people consider rehashing a boss, they try to keep the fights as different as possible. I mean, you go from normal mode to hard mode, and you can see a lot of similarities. And if you're going to hard mode to extreme, you still see those similarities, but you can't go into them with the same strategies. They have to be completely different on all levels. Every mechanic usually has a different way of interacting than it did in the prior fight. An example is Landslide having those tank swapping mechanics in extreme and not having them in hard mode. The landslides becoming more and more of a trouble in extreme, and I could keep going into this, but I think that extreme fight's definitely going to give people trouble, especially considering if you look at that video, you could see some Sahagin ads. I wonder how those are going to play out.
I hope this is more on the side of the Titan and Garuda extreme mode changes, because to be honest, at the end of the day, once I went through all 3 of the current extreme modes, Ifrit felt the weakest to me. It was just it just felt like the same fight with some stronger versions of old abilities.
Go heal that fight and tell me it felt the same, because I know healers hate that fight. They do everything. They literally do everything in that fight.
And you have that whole mechanic with the healer being the target for in particular. But when you look at Titan and you look at Garuda, those were just massive overhauls that made the fights totally different. And I'd really like to see that with Leviathan from day one. Not have to wait, and just that would be really cool. I'm excited about Leviathan. Definitely gets a thumbs up from me on that one. Next up in the trailer, in the next few seconds, though, we saw your boy Hildebrand. He gets a nod, but that was pretty much it, right? He came, he posed, he was gone. that was it.
Somebody posted some or pointed something out to me, though. There's another muscled man with white hair that comes charging in. I think somebody pointed out there's a quest out in Bronze Lake, I think, where you have to rub a man with oil, salamander oil, and there's a quest with Hildebrand where you have to do the same thing. I was told it's the same guy. I haven't actually
the one that
gone
gives you the ring.
Yeah, the one that gives you the Meteor Survivor ring, I think it is. Yeah, and the hell does he have to do with the story other than being another muscly human man that we have to rub oil on? That's what I want to know. But it's literally that and Hildebrand posing. Those are the only 2 things they gave
and
us.
I didn't really expect much here, because that's all about the story, and there's always a little fun gag or a line drawn through there, and they're not going to give that away. I really didn't expect much out of Hildebrand in the trailer. Did you?
No, not at all. I mean,
what we got is pretty much what I expected.
If they reveal it all right away? What's the fun?
Now, they did tease it again at the end of the trailer, after they flashed the 1.8 million accounts and all that jazz.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to cover that as a separate beast. We'll get back to that, since it's at the end of the trailer. Now, unless you want to say something, we can pretty much skip the next one. We saw some new hairstyles, because, it's...
Some of those hairstyles didn't even look new, probably because I'm used to seeing them on one race, and now they're showing off that they're available on a different race. But some of those, I was like, I've seen that hairstyle before. So I'm assuming that was
Yeah,
the reason.
I opened up
becoming available.
the whole barbershop on my character, but I've never used it. I still have the free voucher that they
Never
give you.
unlocked it myself.
You didn't even unlock the damn thing?
Didn't even unlock it. I like my character the way he is. I'm not going to change him.
Achievement, man. Achievements.
Is there an achievement for it? All right, then I'll do it.
Yeah, I unlocked it, but I don't use that all that much, so the hairstyles really didn't do much for me. I don't know if there's some people like in the Game Breaker Nation that are really they change their character every week. So great, you're getting some new hairstyles. Although some of them kind of look like just one-offs of existing hairstyles. Now the next thing, big fishing.
Yeah, great
And
name.
I don't know how to take this yet. When we saw the trailer, and this has since been updated a little bit through a post that happened today on the Lodestone, but when we saw the trailer, essentially all we saw was a Rogadin fisher sit there for 3 Eorzean days, get something to bite, and then that was it.
Yep.
So it left a lot to, well, what is going on here? Is it multiple days you have to sit there and fish? You know, God, man.
You want more time-consuming activities? There you go.
My God.
Big fishing.
Here we just lengthened the amount of fishing. So, but there was the potential for something to be really awesome. But Lodestone post goes up today. We posted it on XIV Nation. You actually did a video on it, I think, too, right?
Yeah,
where this was one of the items you covered. It was kind of the whole preview that they posted on the website today.
Yeah.
And it kind of just took all of the air out of big fishing for me. Tell us about it.
Well, basically, it just seemed... Now, I'm going to go ahead and predict something right here. Because I think big fishing is falling in line with what fishing already is. And Yoshi P has said this in the past. Fishing is, even though you can do things with it, there are recipes, it's mostly something that you just do when you want to relax or you're bored. And
Yeah,
big fishing
big
seems to be the
selling
same thing.
for the Vita, right?
Yeah, big selling for the Vita. There you go. On the bus, you could just go fishing.
Yeah, go fishing.
And big fishing didn't seem to be any better. They specifically said big, legendary fish for new achievements. That's the one thing they highlighted. There would be new achievements with these new fishes.
Right.
Now, I personally think that those big fish are going to be part of a recipe for a furnishing in the house. I think that depending on how many legendary fish there are, I can't imagine there's more than 6 to 10 of them, that they will just be part of a recipe for a furnishing in the house in the end. So achievement and furnishing is my prediction, but not the word fishing challenge like they fed us, all this time, where it made it seem like it would be more of a competition.
Yes, and I was seeing like leaderboards as far as size of the fish and stuff like that, or time to catch it, or amount caught. Like I was seeing the spirit of competition in that a little bit, and then today's post just kind of sucked all the wind out of that idea, because it seemed like you said, it was, okay, we're going to get some achievements. And I would imagine probably a minion or two, like the rest of the fishing job has, maybe. But it's all going to be just more of what we already have, maybe just on a longer time scale, right? I don't know.
3 days.
I still think they could do something really cool with this, but I don't know if we're going to see it in 2.2. I think
they have a
2.2
knack
is
of implementing things a patch
Yeah,
early,
I kind of see this like leading to something else, where right now it's just achievements, but we're going to do something with this down the line that's going to add to it and make it a bit more than what it is. And I see, not only do I see fishing in that, I also see gardening as a potential point where we're going to give you the gardening right now. Exactly like they did with the houses, right? We're going to give you the houses. Eventually, though, we're going to give you basements. You can build an airship, and we're planning other things with that. I can kind of see fishing and gardening maybe going that way. Speaking of gardening, it seemed to be pretty much what we all expected, right? You get a little plot of land outside. You can plant some things. They grow over time. You got to take care of them, and then you can harvest them for materials.
Yeah.
Pretty self-explanatory.
Nice little watering can animation.
Yes, nice little watering can. I kind of think gardening's going to be a bigger deal too when and if, right? when and if individual player housing comes into the game. I just don't. Do you really see how is this going to work free company wise? Is there only one person that can garden? Can everybody have a garden? It looked like a small plot, so maybe you can have multiple gardens on if you have the bigger houses like your free company does. But is this just limited to the people that have rights in the free company house that can also do this? How is this going to work out?
I think it's going to be a new right just a gardening, right? You can assign somebody to be a gardener. I'm curious if harvesting is the only option, or if you can set up a garden to just grow bushes that look nice. I don't think you'll be able to, but I would like the notion would be cool if people who aren't really interested in gardening for the sake of whatever sort of profit or whatever. Hey, I don't want to do botanist. I'll just do gardening. I don't know. It would just be nice.
It's always
because I still don't know what it's going to do.
Always important to have a nice bush outside.
Quote that one.
Yes, Burn 2014. Next up, we had what was it? It was King Mogglemog, the Thorn March Extreme.
Yes.
Looks pretty exciting. Tons of shit everywhere. All kinds of heart animations and drum animations and all kinds of things going on over characters' heads and mini Moggle heads. Of course, the music is back, right? That's the whole reason that anybody goes there right now, is just to hear the damn music. Although I watched your video and I kind of agree with you. You pointed out that in the first version, the normal version of this, or the hard version of it, the king was a secondary figure in the fight. It was managing the ads, getting them to summon the king, and then managing the ads again to kill the king, where it kind of looked like the king plays a more prominent role in the extreme mode.
Yeah, I mean, you could see it right from the get-go. You could see him on the field with none of the Moogles, which is already a big indicator, and you could see him summon the other Moogles, which is like, hey, I have an idea. Let's just make him summon the Moogles this time. Other way around.
Right.
We saw a few new mechanics. We saw the heart mechanics. We saw that the bard looked like he was definitely singing a few new songs. I don't know how different it's going to play out in the end still. I didn't see too much other than maybe one or two animations I didn't recognize before. But with all the stuff going on, it's hard to pinpoint any one thing that was absolutely new. But one thing, I didn't really check too hard. I didn't see any new Moogles, which was something I was kind of expecting. Maybe
at least not in the couple seconds they showed us. The one big thing, though, for me is they've got to make this fight worth doing. Because really the only thing worth doing King for currently was to finish off your 2.1 story. Yes, there were drops and Mog weapons, but nobody was farming those. If you happen to I haven't gone back since I beat it for the story mode. I think maybe I did it once after that. Maybe. I'm not even entirely sure on that. They've got to make this one worth doing, because it is a great fight. It's a fun fight. It's something very different than all the other serious stuff that's in the game, right? It's a unique experience, but you got to make it worth doing. And I don't know if Mog weapons is the answer here. In fact, I know Mog answers is not the weapon. Even with the glamour system coming, I can't imagine this being farmed anymore. So I hope they make this one a little more worth doing. Maybe put one of the jewelry, the eye.
Listen, there's two extreme fights. There's two extreme fights. New Rowanus tokens, maybe. I don't know.
Something.
Stick it in a Quest Leviathan extreme. People will do it.
There you go. Then we get to the really, really, really good stuff. That was just all the good stuff and the cool stuff. Here's the really, really, really good stuff. So we're gonna start. I think let's start with the new instance. Let's start with Lost City of Amdapor. We did see a few things in the snippet they showed. This is where they started to reveal a little more. The Leviathan fight was maybe 15 seconds, and everything else was 10 to 15 seconds after Leviathan. When we got to the Lost City of Amdapor, they started showing a bit more. First off, we see a fight with a Mimic treasure chest. I freaking hate those things.
Can't wait for people's first time in there in the Duty Finder. No, don't touch your chest.
Yeah, when I saw the chest going berserk and everybody beating up on it, you instantly, as a Final Fantasy fan, knew what happened there, and I think all of us went, "Oh shit!" They're historically a harder mob. Now I think they potentially probably aren't going to be that hard here.
No.
At least in this first version of Lost City, maybe in the hard mode. But historically, they're a very hard mob to beat. And then, of course, you always want to pick up the damn treasure chests. I think this one, though, I would be surprised if it's the same chest all the time. I think if you make it the same chest all the time, immediately the novelty of the Mimic monster is gone, because then everybody finds out what it is and just skips it. I'd like to see this rotate through chests.
It's gonna be, it's gonna be funny, because it's gonna be, what I have a feeling is, is going to be 3 treasure chests, and if you pick the right one, it's going to have like an item level whatever accessory in it, and if you don't, you get the mimic, and then if you didn't get it, too bad, move on.
So it's just the old shell game we've seen in previous versions.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, ooh, which one has the gear? Shuffle them around a little bit,
right.
And there you go. But that dungeon was chock full of Final Fantasy XI nostalgia. I don't know about you, but between the mimic
and then we're gonna get
the
to
damselflies,
and then the boss. Yeah, we'll get there. Then we saw this decaying Gooboom boss. Looks like kind of something from the Nightmare Before Christmas, right? He had his whole
looks
stomach,
like a giant pumpkin.
Yeah, his whole stomach was cut open and had big jaws there. Looks like a pretty cool fight. I love the model. The character model looks really, really sharp. So looking forward to that one.
Nightmarish.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Yeah, it had a whole, like, Oogie Boogie Nightmare Before Christmas vibe to me. He just kind of did that. And the big baddie, depending on which Final Fantasy you're going to reference, Diabolos or Diablos, if you prefer, fantastic choice in my book.
Yes.
Fantastic choice. You think the same?
Yeah, I mean, some people have been expecting Diablos to have sort of a bigger role, but I think that his role fits perfectly in here. Sure, he might not seem like, oh, the super giant important guy, but you have to remember, he brought down an entire civilization and has been sealed away for a long time since then, according to what I'm understanding from the Amdapor lore. And I just love the Final Fantasy VIII just homage that he is.
I totally agree. This was a great choice.
His summoning animation, his moves, just 100% homage to Final Fantasy VIII.
We've got to see Dark Messenger, right?
I just want damn music to play the whole dungeon. The nice gentle piano theme, just the whole. You can make it happen during the primals.
In the video, he does this huge badass cast that looks like it could be related to Dark Messenger or some of the more iconic abilities.
Oh, that better be Dark Messenger.
It has to be.
My chat log better say, Mr.
Healers,
Happy
get ready.
was...
Healers, get ready. If you don't know about Diabolos, and Dark Messenger,
if you cast Nightmare, I'm gonna cry. That's all I'm gonna say.
Dark Messenger takes immediately a certain percentage of your health pool. So we don't know what the percentages are, but that's historically what the ability has done. I would expect it to do the same thing here, a certain percentage of the health pool. So healers, get ready. Great choice. I'm really looking forward to Lost City now, where a couple weeks ago I was just kind of, we're going
you're
back
gonna
to
be farming
we're going
the
back
new
to
tomes in there,
Amdapor.
so.
Yeah. A couple weeks ago, I was, we're going back to Amdapor. Now, I can't wait to get in there. It looks great. All the bosses we've seen are great, and I think there's probably still a surprise or two in there the way Yoshi P likes to work these trailers. Your favorite, at least that's what it seemed like from your video that I watched a few days ago, Brave Flock's Long Stop gets its hard mode, and that looks pretty exciting as well. Now, we talked last week about shit being everywhere in the instance and what's causing this, because now we know it's the Illuminati, right? The Goblin Scholar Illuminati. And they just put crap everywhere, and we thought, well, that's kind of a cheap way to make it a new layout, is just force you in directions by putting a bunch of crap everywhere. Yeah. Turns out it has a damn purpose, right? We saw what is presumably the last boss, this big tanky thing, and so it makes sense that they've totally gutted this place for materials to build this thing. Looking pretty good.
Yeah, somebody pointed out to me that someone's like, if I know JRPGs as well as I think I do, that thing's gonna turn into a Megazord. I was like, I don't know about that. They're like, oh, it's gonna a goblin tank that's actually a tank is gonna roll up as a body. There's gonna be legs. I don't know.
Now
I don't think that's gonna happen.
We did see that it looks like we're bringing in big AOE's again now, and oddball shapes and sizes, kind of like Acheron in Crystal Tower. In some of the horizontal vertical line play that they had going across the field. We also saw bombs freaking everywhere from this goblin tank, and including one,
you know how bombs go.
Including one really big bomb that it looked like in the video, in the trailer, everybody was attacking. So maybe there's I'm kind of seeing maybe something like a nail or Titan's Heart, nuke it, and if you don't in time, that whole situation.
I just like how the tank is just driving around the whole time.
Right.
Melee DPS, my heart goes out to you. Okay? My heart goes out to you.
I don't know. Again, I was just kind of so-so about Brayflox. Looking forward to it now. They showed me enough bosses and mechanic-wise that I'm kind of digging it.
Yeah.
The other hard mode, Halatali. We speculated last week who's taken this over because the whole thing is cleaned up. It mentioned somebody else has moved in. Turned out it was us.
Yeah.
Turns out we did it. The whole thing.
We are not the Illuminati.
Yeah, we're not the Illuminati. Turns out the whole thing's a training coliseum, which I think is a good take. And we saw a couple different bosses here in no particular order. We saw the bear boss. We saw...
The bear doesn't look like it belongs in this game. It's like,
know,
it's like let's see. Cyclops, Manticore.
Yep, we saw those. So it looks like just a series of progressive fights. Okay, fine. Last boss was pretty weird though.
Yeah,
there was especially the one ability. It shot chains not only onto the characters but onto the player screen too, and then onto anything else that happened to be in the area too. What the hell is that? I had no clue. Besides maybe a bind, which I think there's more going on than that.
No, there was a lot more going on. If you look at that, there's a few things you can notice. One, the main. I don't even think that's just the main boss. The biggest enemy on the screen is a Manticore. But if you look, there's also a lot of enemies dressed as Coliseum gear from, like Darkhold and things like that. I specifically remember seeing a conjurer attacking a black mage and thinking, okay, well then there's Coliseum attendants here too, NPC Coliseum attendants. What I think it is they think of it like maybe Final Fantasy VII's Battle Arena, where every time you beat enemies sort of snaps and there's something happens that's sort of random, maybe between 2 or 3 different things. But it looks like they lock everyone down, enemies, party members, and the Coliseum trainees, and then it just threw a giant AoE in the middle of the room that you just have to accept that it's going to hit everything. Maybe some sort of thing to switch up the fight, make it so it's maybe a little different every time, but still very predictable and easy to counter if you go through the dungeon multiple times.
I don't know. I think they nailed it again. In patch 2.1, I thought they nailed it with Hawk Manor Hard. I thought that was very, very well done. Even Copper Bell, which was not my favorite hard mode, I thought was well done. And then with Pharaoh Sirius, I liked the instance. It just wasn't worth running because of the whole snafu with the difficulty versus the reward. But all in all, just from a performance perspective, I thought the 3 dungeons they did in 2.1 were really well done. And I have a feeling 2.2 is going to do it again. I mean, they look like they could be a lot of fun, and they better, because we're getting a new tombstone, so we're going to have to farm these damn things. So
see you in there.
I'm glad that at least...
I wonder what the new tombstone cap's going to be. I wonder if they're going to go to 300 or if they're going to go right to 450. I think they're going to do 300.
I think they would go to 300 again. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then a midway patch make it 450 again.
Yeah, next Crystal Tower patch, which we're all...
Or they're going to leave it at 450 and then adjust the pricing of the new gear so that it might as well have been 300 and with the current pricing. What else did we get teased? Ventures. We kind of speculated last week that you may be able to level, or there was going to be some type of experience gaining. Maybe it would go towards your job if you sent your retainer out on a carpentry mission. Maybe it would net your character some carpentry experience. From what we saw, it didn't look like that's the case, but there is a leveling mechanic involved. It's for your retainer, though. Not for you or for your classes. I honestly, I'm going to have to dig into this one once we get there, because from the limited amount we saw, to me... the whole ventures thing really doesn't seem worth it. If there's not some big payoff, it's such a small return on the items that you're getting. Well, yeah, they'll probably lock a frickin' minion behind it, and then I'll have to max it out. But to me, it just seemed like if you wanted to use that as a viable way to farm items, there's about 99 faster ways to do it.
I think it depended on the item. One item I saw on that list specifically was pudding flesh. And I was like, oh my god, I could tell him to farm pudding flesh. Right, oh, please. I'm sorry, Market, but I need it. I need it so bad. I hate that item. And also, it's also going to mean that people who... Because there's a lot of competition still out there for things like fleece and... what are the kikern? Not the kikern. What are the apkalu eggs? There is still a lot, and it really turns people off from even trying to get into those kind of markets. And you see bots out there even occasionally. So it gives them some sort of access to the materials that they can't go out and farm themselves, and at the same time they can't access to the market boards. So I like that it's limited because I didn't want this to be better than players going out and doing it.
Well,
Maybe
obviously,
it's a little too limited.
Yeah.
But I think it at least gives you enough reward, especially if you could send both your retainers out. Although I can't imagine you'll be able to use the market board at all if you do that.
No, because they're both out on ventures. To me, it's a nice little side thing. And chat, some in chat are speculating that it does in fact level your crafting or gathering jobs, because one of the and they're right, from one of the screenshots, you are picking the job that they want to gain experience in, but I just got the feeling the way it was being demoed that it wasn't the player's experience bar that was being impacted there. It was the retainers.
Yeah, that would be interesting because you see how much experience they're going to obtain for the venture, which is what made me believe you're going to start at level 1 and work your way up through the ventures and however which way that you plan on doing it. If it were able to give you extra EXP, I can't say I would complain about that because you don't need EXP at max level, and it would just be another way of getting some hourly EXP and get you involved in the system in the first place. But I don't think that's the way it's going to work. How's your retainer ever going to get to level 50? Have you seen what your retainers are wearing right now? They are not set for combat at all. They need to get in shape.
The Duel in chat says, sounds a lot like Star Wars The Old Republic companion missions. Yeah. I mean, that's the vibe I got from the whole thing was, yeah, you're going to take a little bit less on the gain, but you don't have to actually go and do it. You send them out, it takes an hour, and you'll see them later. So it'll be interesting. I'm going to dig into that one a little more because I am curious what they plan to do with it. It feels like another almost finished but not quite system to me at the moment. So definitely going to keep an eye on it. Of course, Glamour system got a little more love. But really all they did in the trailer was kind of show some bizarre combinations. We did get, in the written live letter, which was earlier, or was late last week, from Yoshi
55?
P. We did get some info on some rules, because there are a few, and they make sense. You know, you can't wear, Black Mage isn't going to be able to wear Dragoon armor. It's got to be class specific. So it all makes sense. I don't know. I'm kind of, even though I may not like the current gear I'm wearing, I don't know how much I'm going to use the Glamour system. It is nice, though, that you don't have to keep the piece in your inventory. Once you have taken the Mog book and put it on your Scholar relic as a Glamour piece, you can take the Mog book and pass it off to the retainer. That's really nice, because inventory space continues to be an issue in 14.
Yeah, and it looks really simple to use. It looks as simple as attaching materia.
Yeah.
Like you literally just left side, right side, combine them, good. And then you're all set to go. And one thing I noticed in the screenshot that they showed, it looked like the weapon was available as a choice, which is a big thing for a lot of people. A lot of people are wondering, is the weapon going to be included? It looked like it was going to be available, which I like, because that'll give some meaning to some of the older weapons that we've had. Hint, hint, Shadow Bow for bards.
And now we're going to have, of course, Snow and Lightning running around freaking everywhere now.
Don't say it out loud.
Crafters are getting new recipes, which was teased in the trailer. Again, another thing that we got an update to today, which we'll cover in just a second. But let me tangent out just from the trailer for a minute here. I want to talk about crafting. Because Yoshi P did mention it in his written live letter, or written letter from the producer, not the written live letter.
I'm sure he wrote it. He was live.
He was live when he wrote it. That works. Yeah. And then in the preview piece posted on the Lodestone today, crafting again came up. So there's been a few updates to this. In the normal letter from the producer, Yoshi P mentioned crafters and relics, and now it appears that the relics are going to be able to be upgraded. We got a few pictures of what we think is potentially an upgraded relic. We're not sure yet. Good news for you and I as relic fans, right? We bemoaned that whole thing where, oh my god, my relic is not my most powerful weapon anymore. Very, very good choice here, correct? I don't think any of us dispute that.
I think that not only is it a good choice that they're making it go further, I think it's a good choice it doesn't look the same either.
Yeah, that's kind of cool too.
That would have just been, to me, it would have been like, great, the harp. Great.
Now, so we're probably, as far as the story on the site goes, we're probably headed back to Geralt so that he can do some work on there. Probably, I would imagine, tied in with the new tombstones. But do you think crafters could maybe play a part in this upgrade? Kind of not only with the recipe stuff we're going to talk about in a second, but making people seek out particular crafters for this.
I want to point out a commonplace within two things really quickly. On the website, it was called Geralt's Masterworks.
Yes.
The recipe thing we got today called the Master Crafting Recipes.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be tied together. Geralt could be the person who eventually gives you the ability to learn master recipes. Maybe you need to take a book to him. Maybe he gives you a book for something or whatever or not. Who knows? It could be anything. They could do whatever they want. It's going to be a surprise in the end. But I feel like crafters could play some part in it. And I don't mean, hey, can you double slot my level 55 weapon that nobody uses with 2 pieces of materia? I think it could go a little bit farther than that. Will it? We'll have to wait and see. I'm not holding my breath. I think it's going to be a very simple upgrade, but we shall see.
Now, you mentioned books here. If somebody doesn't know what we're talking about here, today on the Lodestone, there was an update that, or a sneak peek kind of featurette like they've been doing for Coil and the instances and everything. And it included a nod to crafting that something Happy and I have been talking about since probably launch, that we really, really wanted to see in the game. It sounds like it could potentially be coming into the game now, and that is the ultra rare crafting pattern / book being dropped or obtained from somewhere, so that not your level goldsmith is not the same as my level goldsmith, because maybe I have an extra pattern or two that I've picked up from somewhere. It's about damn time. This super exciting if it's what it sounds like. Yeah. Again, we're
saying it definitely
speculating
is.
Based on the way it's worded. Allegedly, there will be books. So
yes,
I hope that's the case, because we've talked about that multiple times, because everybody's crafter is the same. Once you get the gear and the level, you're done. And everybody's the same. That would be a real nice way to, let me reach out to Happy's Free Company because they've got so-and-so that's a goldsmith and I know he has that recipe. Now you've started bringing the crafting back into the economy, which is something sorely lacking right now. So This could be really good for crafters. The whole master
or it could be a complete disappointment. We'll see.
We'll see. I hope it's not a disappointment, man. I hope it's not.
I'm just putting it out there. Not don't get 100%.
No, everything so far has been good.
Keep 50% of your hopes in a jar. Keep 50% of your hopes in a jar.
2.2 trailer has been great so far. Don't do that to me. Not too much to say about the Beast Tribe dailies. Okay, we've got a few snippets of maybe some objectives that looked a little more unique when compared to some of the older objectives. There was one thing in this video, though, that I wanted to ask you about and didn't get a chance to. I haven't seen some of the locations in-game that are shown in the Beast Tribe dailies for 2.2. Particularly, the one that's really noticeable is the shipyard. We have a shipyard in the game by the Wolves' Den, but it doesn't look anything like this, where you're actually on different ships doing these dailies. Are we actually going to see zone increases, do you think, here? I mean, I don't see another way around it. We have to.
I don't think... Well, I guess technically it is a zone increase, but it's probably a daily-only area. It's getting there is probably initiated by a daily quest. Leaving there probably ends the daily quest. You're probably not just going to see people grinding enemies on ship fronts. Those are obviously allied ships to boot there, and it looks like you're just doing cleanup work, really. Sahagins, jump aboard, and you gotta beat them up. They're not looking good. I will say that even the areas... the Eorzea and the Sylph areas saw very minuscule changes going over into the Beast Tribe, but it looked like the areas now were a lot more friendly and lively. The Kobold and the Sahagin home areas for the friendly Beastmen looked a little bit more alive and like actual communities. Like you saw, I think I saw a Sahagin house. I did not think those things lived in houses, okay? So it looks like they definitely did some remodeling to put more effort. If you're going to make a daily quest, do whatever you can to break up the monotony. Make the area different. Make it go to certain areas that aren't accessible in the game otherwise. I think that is the right way to approach putting new daily quests.
And Loveless in chat says, what about the dry docks? I'm with you, but it could be the dry docks, and to your point, they just added boats. But my point is that they added the boats. There's some new element in the zone. It definitely could be an existing area that's just been changed. My point was overall it's new or there have been changes to something, because I haven't seen those particular layouts anywhere in the world. And we're going to get back to another place that maybe there's something new as far as lay of the land goes. Hey, did you like the bomb chair mount, though? I mean, because obviously that looks like it's going to be a Beast Tribe reward.
Not only did I like the bomb chair mount, I like the swag sit that he's got going on. He's got his arms sprawled out, he's got his legs crossed. He's just like, yeah, I know, it's a bomb chair.
It is.
I know.
I like it. Ladies. There's some people that are in like Game Breaker Nation. They're like, that thing looks goofy. I love it. Looks great. Now, Happy, you're probably going to be doing reviews of this, or at least more of this than I will at the point, because my Game Breaker Nation raid group, we're just on T5 now, so it's unlikely that we'll be going into T6 as soon as this thing launches. But we did see the second coil of Bahamut. The bosses, some of them, did get teased. Remember, we're getting 4 turns here. Yoshi P has promised that there will not be a turn like turn 3, the current turn 3. So that's good news. Right off the bat, I think the thing most of us noticed right away, as soon as the trailer piece started for it, we're outside.
Yes.
Some of this is taking place outside, because we know this is going to be a new entrance. You know, you're not going to go into turn 1 and then, all the way down. Each coil is in a separate location. So we knew we were going to have a new entrance, but now it looks like we're going to have to fight our way into the damn thing, too. I kind of dig it. Yeah,
I think it definitely breaks up the environmental, because, I mean, you look at turns 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, sure, they all look different, but you still get the idea of the entire, like, it stays consistent, it makes sense the whole way down. And this new entrance, which, by the way, is looking like it's over by Fallguard Float, for those of you who are wondering where the new entrance probably is, it's probably over there. There's actually a rocky outcrop that's blocking this outside entrance that it looks like we're waiting for. So that exact outcrop will probably be the actual entrance into Fallguard Float's Binding Coil. It looked great.
I'm not going to lie, though, when I saw the jump pads, I cringed a little.
But here's the thing.
Just involuntarily.
Some people saw that and they immediately thought turn 3.
Yeah.
Like they thought, oh, that's the new turn 3. But what I saw is a friggin' ADS walk up high voltage your whole group, and then a bunch of ads drop down. I was like, that's so rude. Why would you do that?
But so what did you think of the bosses? We got 2 official names. We got the Avatar, which looks like a kind of robot treant creature, and then I'm gonna mispronounce this. What is Rafflesia?
Rafflesia.
Rafflesia. I knew I was going to miss that one. So those 2 were directly put on the site and shown in the trailer. It also looked like we got teased with a third one, but that third one didn't make it to the site. It looked like a Medusa with maybe a Cyclops combination 2-person fight. We did see a little bit of it in the trailer. Not exactly sure if that's a mini boss or a full boss or whatever. It looked pretty badass, but we only really got 2, which means there's 2 more out there.
I think that the other boss, after what they said about how they really like turn 4's sort of gauntlet setting, that's the reason why we didn't see another boss that was teased. I think that one of the other bosses is definitely more of a gauntlet setting where they couldn't just say, oh, it's this boss for this turn, which specifically looked like turn 7 that was going to be the gauntlet boss type of deal.
Which means we still have 1 boss outstanding, though, which makes sense. They're not going to show, they didn't show actually, they didn't show much of Coil at all. I think all we saw was ADS.
It looked like here's what they did.
In the original Coil, I think all we got teased was ADS,
we got a single picture from turn 2. That is all we got, and that was alongside a picture of Demon Wall and one of the story mode bosses from 2.0. In the new one, we got Trash Boss. They wanted to show that, by the way, the Trash, I never say this about Trash, but those settings that the Trash was in were phenomenal.
Yeah.
It looked phenomenally done, and they looked very dynamic. Looked like they were trying to implement more creature types. It looks like Trash will actually be Trash, which, let's see. All the Trash we had in the first Coil was turn 1 and then turn 3. That was all the Trash we had.
Yeah.
So it looks like they really want to go more the route of Crystal Tower trash, where there's trash with mechanics and actually requiring some group effort for trash. Not, hey, run to the end and we'll AoE you down.
So we still have one boss outstanding, the final boss. It would be very hard, I think, to speculate on what that boss would be at this point, because I don't think any of us saw Twintania coming as the boss of Turn 5.
Twintania hard mode.
Right, which would make speculating Turn 9 a bit difficult. But don't spoil. I've seen the cutscene, even though I haven't beaten it. I have seen the Turn 5
I knew you
cutscene.
couldn't hold back.
Oh, hell no. So I've seen the Turn 5 cutscene a while ago. So I know the story elements. Let's not spoil them for people. But there's kind of a little tiny clue about potentially something. In the very last seconds of the binding coil piece of the trailer, you get a glimpse of the cutscene, presumably transitioning between Turn 8 and Turn 9. That's where I think it goes. You?
Yeah,
okay.
but with the way they approach the rest of the trailer,
right.
6, 7, 8, 9, it makes sense.
So it makes sense that is transitioning, where your character is walking up, they hold their hand out there, a door opens, and if you're just watching it and you're not paying attention, you miss it. You totally miss it. Because it just looks like a wall.
Nobody mentioned it to me. I was like, how does nobody notice this? This is so. I had one person from my free company.
In the bottom center of the screen, very bottom center, very tiny, we see what looks like the White Raven. What looks like it could be the White Raven. Now, I don't want to spoil any of the Turn 5 cutscene, but could we potentially be fighting the White Raven again?
I've been speculating. Everybody always asks me, when are we going to fight Bahamut? And I'm like, do you see how big that guy is?
You just fought a boss on his hand.
On his hand. And that's not to mention the rest of the arm and then the rest of him. I said we'll probably fight somebody on his behalf. And we've already done that once before. Even used Mega Flare back in 1.0. That was Rivenrow, the White Raven. So I've been saying, I think we even had a previous episode where I speculated that he would eventually be a boss in Coil. I would like to not. I would be surprised to not see it at this point. And he's still listed as a threat on the website.
Yep.
Even though he's supposedly dead, he is still listed as a threat on the website for Realm Reborn.
Coil looks pretty badass. And then we're going to start getting the echo and the ability to run it as much as you want, and duty findering it too. So I don't think it'll be too long before I'll be joining you in turns T6 through T9, but you'll probably have the scoop on at least some of that, if not all of it, for us 2 weeks from now when we do our review show. The main story is being extended. Obviously, we expected that. Seems like voice actors are getting a lot more work, though, right? I hope that's not all just one cutscene that they spliced up, because if that's multiple cutscenes, most of them in the trailer were voiced.
I was just gonna say we're probably only gonna see 2 or 3 voiced cutscenes. I can already tell you right now we're gonna see a lot of unvoiced sort of cutscenes.
But I want to see
even
more
in the original
voiced
main story
over time
we had
here. I want to see more voiced over time, because I was disappointed in the initial launch with how much was not voiced, even as part of the main story, that everybody shared the same story. Why isn't this voiced? I would like to see some more of that going forward. Finally, we get the advertisement, right, that shows the website and the 1.8 million accounts and the number they love touting around, which means nothing. Fade to black. Lights come up on Mr. Gilgamesh. Mr. Gilgamesh gets teased just slightly at the end. He's on a big bridge. Clash at the Big Bridge is playing. There's no doubt about what song that is.
Yes.
But where the hell is that bridge? The only bridge that I can even remotely see looking like the bridge they show there is the bridge to Ishgard. But I don't think they're going to let us on that yet. Do you?
No, I honestly think it's just a bridge that Gilgamesh tells you, hey, go here, we'll fight on this, like literally just for the setting and
So
nothing
go to
else.
destination and click on
Go to
destination.
it will take you
and
to
all of a
said
sudden
bridge.
you're on Big Bridge in the middle
But
of
what
nowhere.
was really nice about it is that, we've been saying it looks like it's just going to be an 8-man or a 4-man or something like that. That was without a doubt his introduction to right before the fight starts, which A Fate wouldn't have, and B, we've already seen multiple people. So that pretty much nailed it down that he is going to be what looks like an 8-man fight. I still think 8-man because some people say you can see 6 players in that. I only see 5, but I see more.
Yeah, I only see 5. I did see somebody was messaging me that you can see a summoner's legs if you look through it. I was like, I'm not getting out the microscope. I saw 5, which is enough to say it's probably 8.
Yeah.
Pretty badass 8 minutes. I gotta give the PR team huge thumbs up. It was a great trailer. Showed off a lot while still leaving a lot of question marks out there. Just all in all, great job. If you haven't seen the trailer, we have it up on xivnation.com. Obviously, you can get it from the official patch 2.2 website, though. But from me, huge thumbs up. Fantastic trailer. You agree? We are 50 minutes into the show, and we are only through our first topic. I told you, chat, you had to bear with us. This was going to be a long one. There's a ton of stuff to cover. I've already drank my entire water bottle. So if I get a little screechy from here on out, forgive me. We're going to move on from the patch to the website itself, and we're not going to duplicate anything. There's a few notes we should talk about as far as the website goes. But before we do that, I want to talk to you about one of our sponsors here at Game Breaker. That's Audible, the audiobook company. If you've never heard of them, you've got to check it out. Great service, especially when you're sitting there raiding. You can listen to a book on the side. Nice stuff. Audible.com/GameBreaker. You use that URL, and you're going to get a free 30 days and a free audiobook. To be honest, the site could not be easier to use. Now, there's no Final Fantasy books on here, so I've pulled up what I think one of the best fantasy overall writers of our time, Mr. R.A. Salvatore. Plenty of R.A. Salvatore here for you. This isn't even half the page. So if you are a fan or you need to catch up on some fantasy, this is a great way to do it. You can be in your car driving like I do from PA to New York or New Jersey. Just throw it on and listen. Most of these have whisper sync too, so if you've got this book on Kindle, you can actually sit there and read it on your Kindle. Got to get up and go do something? Press play. Audible will pick up right where you're reading and start reading to you. When you're done, press stop, and you can resume reading by yourself. You don't have to listen to it. Great service. Again, one of our sponsors. So happy to have them on board. If you're not taking advantage of it, if you're not able to help in the GoFundMe Game Breaker campaign, a lot of people ask, how can we help Game Breaker if we can't afford to make a donation? This is a great way, gang. Support our sponsors. That helps support Game Breaker. You can do that by using that URL on your screen, audible.com/GameBreaker. And just for supporting, you get a free 30 days and your pick of a free book. If you want one of these R.A. Salvatore books, go for it. Tons of them to pick from. Sometimes I forget how much he writes. Oh, geez, that's only page 1. There's 2 more pages of R.A. Salvatore books. Check it out. Use that URL. You're in good shape. Help Game Breaker by supporting our sponsors. That's the best way to do it. Speaking of websites like Audible, Patch 2.2 got its own website, which we kind of saw coming, right? We saw that with 2.1. Yeah. It's got its own website. We've covered a lot of the items.
Its own website.
Right. Every patch, website. Again, we're not going to rehash what we already covered in the trailer, but there are a few things here that we should take a peek at. I'm actually going to bring up the site and show our viewers what we're talking about as we go. Let's start with Side Story. I thought the thing that was interesting here was Hildebrand and Gilgamesh were 2 separate items. Now, if we go by 2.1, Gilgamesh is clearly tied to the Hildebrand storyline. Even in the
screenshots, even though they're separated, there is a screenshot with him next to Hildebrand.
And yeah, exactly. The second screenshot here shows Hildebrand laying down, Gilgamesh standing behind him. But called out in 2 spaces, do you think maybe we're going to see a separation of the storyline here where these 2 characters interact, but then each goes their own way throughout Eorzea to wreak more havoc or be an agent of inquiry?
I feel as though Gilgamesh is going to be initially part of the Hildebrand quest where we're introduced to him. And like I said, I think we're going to get that sort of solo encounter with him. And then it's like, hey, listen, if you ever want a real fight, come meet me on this big bridge over here. And that's where they sort of branch off. I don't think it's anything deeper than that where it's, hey, now we're going to start going two completely different side story tangents. I think Gilgamesh is going to hit its cap at a point, and then we're going to keep going with Hildebrand. And Hildebrand will introduce us to even more wacky bosses and things like that.
Look at that smile. Hildebrand's gleaming white smile. That's your boy. Leviathan got some cool screenshots here, too.
Yeah,
we haven't seen.
Leviathan looks simply stunning.
Yeah. These bubbles, are you think maybe a player's ending up in these things?
Yeah.
Just seems like it kind of goes hand in hand with the way this fight would work if we ended up in a bubble somewhere. The second screenshot I think is like probably the intro where Leviathan's actually flying out to the raft that the players are on.
Yeah,
looks like the intro to me.
I have a feeling we're going to get to see them, like, you know how they played Titan Extreme very briefly for the Extreme? I have a feeling we're going to see that in the live letter and one of the, as miscellaneous announcements kind of coming.
Or the thing we're not supposed to see, but they end up showing.
Well, last time, Yoshi, he was actually playing in it, so I think he'll actually be playing in it this time. And it was like, well, now they saw it last time, I might as well.
Here's the second coil of Bahamut, where we really only got full names for two bosses. This robot treant character, which they call the Avatar. The name leaves a little bit to be desired. And Rafflesia.
I like the Japanese.
This is kind of a different model than we've seen for this type of mob, though. It's kind of looking very Allegan.
Well, I mean, it has to. It has to make sense. I want to know how the Lamians, because they're without a doubt Lamians. Whether or not it's Medusa is up for debate. But they are
that's this screenshot right here. So whether this is part of a gauntlet-style fight or is a full boss on its own, this is the character that we saw in the trailer fighting alongside a Cyclops. So very interesting to see what they're going to do with that. I like that there's only two teased. I like that.
I'm sticking to the other one being a gauntlet boss. After the hint they gave us with turn 4, I just can't see it being any other way.
When we look at the dungeons, though, there's really not too much that we didn't cover in the dungeons, but I did want to ask you one question, what you thought here, since we haven't had a chance to talk since the site went live. So for Halatali, the hard mode dungeon, we see the bear boss, we see the Cyclops boss with the armor on, and then we see this little guy here, this little mammoth, this little, if you're a Final Fantasy XI, it's this little puppet. What's going on here?
I don't know. That just...
Like, I have the feeling that this is probably part of a cutscene, and that little guy opens up that maybe that cage that's right there, or opens something up to allow the next combatant in. But I think it's kind of cool that he got his own little screenshot. I love those guys.
I'm sure you do, because you have a bunch of them.
I do. I have every Grand Company. So.
There you go.
We mentioned relics earlier, and here's what we were talking about. With gear, and are these potentially relics or not? It's under Geralt's Masterworks site, and we've had these screenshots for a few days now, and presumably these are the new relics here, what we're seeing for the Paladin, for the Bard, and for the White Mage. It looks like new gear sets, too, so I'm not sure how to take this, if these are new relics, or if these are maybe new Tombstone gear. What are you making of it?
I think new relics, Geralt's Masterworks, like, come on.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense to me.
The rest of the gear, I think that's just thrown in there, like, here, tell them it's about the weapons. Throw in some of the new gear sets. It doesn't look like, I will say this, doesn't look like the stuff they teased.
No, not at all. The White Mage looks particularly badass. Yeah, I really like the White Mage gear set. Such an upgrade. Do we have pants here? I mean, this is a Lala, so it's hard to tell. But,
yeah, well, pants are optional. Reinhardt would approve.
I would like the White Mage to have pants. That would be nice. Yeah. Looking pretty badass, all in all. Kind of impressed. Website's really cool. If you haven't checked it out, obviously go over and please do. And leave a comment below. What do you think? Are those the relics? Are those the relic upgrades? Or are we just seeing full gear sets from Tombstone gear? Possibly hard mode weapons? I don't know. We kind of lean towards relics, but let us know what you think in the comments below. So I got to ask this. We had a pretty badass trailer. We've got a chock-full website. We've had multiple updates to the Lodestone itself, giving sneak peeks for everything. What on earth can they actually reveal at the next live letter? It seems like most of the secrets that they would reveal are out. They're obviously not going to show us the last boss of Coil, nor would I expect them to. We've got patch 2.2 on the 27th. Live letter this Friday, the 21st, at 5:30 in the morning, Eastern Time, 2:30 Pacific. What could they possibly go over that is new? Or are they just going to rehash what the trailer and the site showed?
Well, I think we're actually going to see something 2.3 related, somewhere towards the end. They have a knack of doing things two patches ahead when they reveal things. I'd expect maybe a 2.3 announcement, even not, of course, nothing serious as a date and nothing more than concept art. But I could see maybe saying who the next primal is going to be after Leviathan. It might even be a question already that somebody's asked on the forums. We are all pretty much set that it's going to be Ramuh and then Shiva, just based on what they've said in the past. I think it's mostly just going to be clarification. I think they could reveal something, but if it's not in the trailer, don't expect it to be like we're not going to see another Ultimate. We're not going to see Ultimate Extreme.
No,
that's nothing like that's going to get revealed. I think maybe something little will be revealed, something that's just like, oh wow, that's cool, but nothing more like hype mode kind of.
Chat, most of chat is disagreeing with us, by the way. They tend to think these are not relics simply because the glow isn't on there.
But that was only for the +1.
Yeah, I was going to say, the original relics don't glow. It's the +1s that glow. They seem to think, though, that it's crafting gear, which I think is a strong possibility. I think it's a strong possibility.
You can't take it out.
I'd like to think they're relics because of how badass they look, but I wouldn't be disappointed if they were crafting gear either. So the next two shows going to be very exciting, probably be a little long like this one is. You know, today we've got a lot to go over. We're still not through all of it, gang. Next week, we're obviously going to have the whole live letter to dissect, and hopefully, we both think the patch notes will probably drop after the live letter does, like they did last time. So if they do that, next week's show will be chock full again. And then the following week, since the patch drops on a Thursday, both of us will have 4 or 5 days time actually in 2.2, and then we can do our official review show like we did for 2.1. 2.1, we gave about a 7.5 to an 8 out of 10, so we'll see if patch 2.2 can live up to that expectation or exceed it. Definitely going to be interesting next two shows. Make sure you're keeping it locked and dialed here, GameBreaker.tv and XIVNation.com. Keep it locked in. Follow us on the Twitch there if you're not. As if all of that wasn't enough, and I wasn't losing my voice already, we have interviews and rewards to go over. So 4Gamer this week got to sit down with not just Yoshi P, but some of the other members of Team Square Enix. Silicon Era they posted a nice summation translation of the whole thing, so kudos to Silicon Era. That's where we're getting the translation from. Now, we're obviously interested mostly in Final Fantasy XIV on this show, but we're all Square Enix fanboys here and White Knights, so they did mention Dragon Quest X and Final Fantasy XI. Dragon Quest X or 10 is pulling in about 300,000 players per day, and keep in mind that is only in Japan right now. Surprising number. I thought it was much bigger than I thought it was going to be.
It's impressive. It definitely goes to say that given the same amount of time Final Fantasy XI had, Dragon Quest X could be right up there with its profits for Square Enix. I mean, think about that. I mean, that's consistent. That means that it's already had its launch and it's had its player fall off, and it's sitting at 300,000, which is very successful in Square Enix's eyes, especially for only, they didn't have to pay for localization in another country or new voice actors. Like, that has got to be really, really good for them. I'm really happy to see it.
I want to see it in North America. And they've said eventually it will come. They've said it will eventually go to other countries, too, not just NORAM or North America here. They did make a weird statement way back when, though, that they all wouldn't necessarily be the same game. Because of cultural differences, there would be slight variations. So I don't think we're going to see like Final Fantasy XIV, where you play from North America with Japanese players.
It'll be more like the Chinese servers.
Yeah, it's going to be isolated.
They usually get their own isolated servers. Yeah.
But when are we going to see this? We heard, yes, we plan to do it. Why wouldn't we? Yes, we're going to do a North American version. Yes, it will be on PC. And then that was it. And that was months and months and months ago.
You know what I think might attribute to it? The Wii U's lack of success.
Well, yeah. Well, that's why I think it was really important that they did come out and say it was going to be on PC. Because
Yes.
I think they readily recognized, oh shit, Wii U's in trouble. Yes, there are a ton of people that want this, but we're going to have to do it on PC if we do it.
Yeah.
Street date? Care to make a guess?
Let's see. Looking at all the lack of announcements that they've had since
2016.
Like 2 years ago. Yeah. How about this? We'll wait till 15 comes out because that's been on the
There you
charts
go.
for 8 years now.
Final Fantasy XI, which everybody that watches this show weekly, either live or on YouTube, they know that you and I are big Final Fantasy XI players, played for a decade. Didn't bring numbers to the table. They didn't bring numbers to the table. But they did say they've had a lot of players come back because of the Seekers of Adolin expansion, which dropped in, March of this year?
Yeah.
But a lot of players have left for
March
Final
of last
Fantasy
year.
XIV. Yeah,
It's been a year since Seekers came out.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The February update was the most recent thing that happened there.
Actually, the March updates now happened.
Yeah. Cool stuff. So they said they've got some players coming back, but they did admit, hey, we've had a lot of people leave for Final Fantasy XIV. They didn't bring any numbers to the table. But Yoshi P chimed in and said he was impressed he's seen the numbers, and he was impressed at the numbers they still had.
Yeah.
Take that for what it's worth. I don't know. We kind of seeing the end of 11, do you think? Are we watching the end right now?
I
As
think,
much as it pains me to ask that, I kind of think we are.
I don't know. I think that we won't see another expansion for Final Fantasy XI.
Oh, yeah,
anytime
I
soon.
think that's out.
Seekers of Adolin, I think, was 5 years after Wings of the Goddess. And I think they were sort of gauging the success of Final Fantasy XIV's initial launch, even going into that. Because I remember at some point they said, we at least have development planned up till this month. And it was sometime in 2010. And then when Final Fantasy XIV launched, which was sometime after that final date, that's when they announced Seekers of Adolin, because they apparently saw a lot of players move over and then come back, which was apparently a big thing for them. I think him not saying the number is a little bit of two things. I think it's a little bit of humbleness. The Japanese culture really isn't about toting numbers.
Right.
That's something that really matters more in North America, and obviously 4Gamer asked specifically, so the other two. I also think it's a little bit of, I guess he's right next to the two biggest Japanese.
It's a
MMORPGs.
tough room to be in right now.
It's a tough room to be
and be
in.
Final Fantasy XI.
And being after being out for 13 years now in Japan. I think he should just be happy that the game is
he's still in the room.
He's still in the room. Yeah, he should. And I think maybe another year of monthly updates for Final Fantasy XI. After that, we'll have to see where it goes. I don't think another expansion. I don't know where they'll go after.
All right, so we both kind of agree that expansions are off the table at this point, most likely, and that we are watching Final Fantasy XI finally wind down. So here's the prediction factor that I'm going to ask for then. Does it shut down, or does it go free to play?
Shut down.
I think it does too.
I think it's completely just pull it offline.
I think it does too.
Well, that game, I mean, the thing is, for a free-to-play market to really work, you still need a decent player base, and I think that a lot of people would leave, specifically if it went free-to-play. If you had, let's say that they had, I'm assuming that because he didn't want to say the number, it wasn't in the 6 digits. It was more along 75,000 active subscribers for Final Fantasy XI. I'd assume that you would need more than that for free-to-play to be worth keeping up, and people spending money regularly. I don't see free-to-play being a draw for people to go back to that game and spend money long-term. So
yeah, I don't see free-to-play for kind of the same reason. Well, right now I see Square Enix just watching it numbers-wise, and the minute it's not profitable, we're done. The minute the costs outweigh the revenue, we're done. This isn't something we're going to ride out and see if we can get a new influx of players with an update. The minute the bills don't match, I think it's done. And I think going free-to-play at this point, 13 years in, would be a much bigger expense than they're willing to put into it
you
now.
You have to
because
redesign a game to work.
You would need a full overhaul of a bunch of the systems. It wouldn't hurt from a graphical update, and there's just too much that goes into a solid free-to-play conversion that I don't think they want to put the money in, and I totally understand that. 13 years in, not wanting to put the money in. But I do think we're in the end of days for 11. Whether that's a year from now or 5 months from now or 2 years from now, I don't know. I think it's going to be the minute it's not profitable anymore. On the 14 front,
there we go.
Things got weird in this interview.
Little bit.
They got a little odd. And Yoshi P has a tendency to do that sometimes anyway, but this was even odd for Yoshi P. We've talked a few times on the show about subscriber numbers because it's something a lot of people are interested in 14. And the last time we had subscriber numbers was back in November. Square Enix released their financial report, and there was a PowerPoint presentation, which was, I guess, 3 months, so a fiscal quarter, essentially, after the launch of Final Fantasy XIV. And they touted that the subscriber base exceeded 600,000, and that was a number higher than Final Fantasy XI had ever done at one time, and they even labeled them as payment users, so there was no confusion that we were seeing a subscriber number. That was back in November. A few shows ago, you and I talked more about why aren't we seeing an update now? It's almost weird that we haven't. At least I thought it was. You tended to think that we would see an update around the Eorzean census time, so it didn't seem odd to you. This interview kind of made it seem even odder for me, though, because right now, we keep seeing the 1.8 million players, 1.8 million players, 1.8 million players, which means nothing to me and probably doesn't to investors. All that means is we've had 1.8 million accounts created. It has nothing to do with how many are active, how many are paying, how many are even logging in. For crying out loud, my wife is part of that 1.8 million. She hasn't been subbed for 2 months now with her work schedule. But she's part of that 1.8 million. That shows you how valuable that number is. Yoshi P seemed to bring some more odd numbers to the table. Wouldn't answer subscriber numbers, but did bring some odd type of census-y stuff that you like. 6.75 million characters created.
Yep.
Great. How many do
I've
you
got
have,
5
Happy?
of those.
Yeah, 5 of them are yours. 400 million played hours. Fantastic.
That's I think I was like 25,000 years or so. I don't remember. I did the math in the video.
All very impressive numbers. Don't misunderstand me. They're impressive little statistics. And they're a lot of fun when you're flipping through like an Eorzean census and stuff like that, which they occasionally put out. They did for that live letter a little while ago. But they're not really meaningful to an investor. They don't mean anything to somebody sinking money into things.
Yeah.
He did say about 500,000 people log in each day. Again, logging in different than subscribing. If you just bought the game, you're still on your 30 free days. Whatever.
Yes.
You don't think it's strange that we still aren't getting a subscriber number of some type?
I don't know.
I think it's ridiculously out there that we haven't at this point. Especially since 3 months in, you pumped a number. You pumped the numbers.
One thing you really have to remember, Dragon Quest X didn't say, as far as I remember, didn't say 300,000 subscribers.
No.
But I mean, you want to look at, these are all people under Square Enix. And they all came in with just login. I mean, Dragon Quest X came in and said 300,000 logins per day. Final Fantasy XIV came in with 500,000 logins per day. They were all, I almost feel like Square Enix said, just give them this number. Because there's no way that they all said, by the way, let's not tell everybody our real subscriber numbers. Let's just say how many people log in per day. Yeah? And then the one Final Fantasy XI guy's like, I'm just going to sit.
He's like, I'm not even going to say that. I know.
Yeah. And I think that it's purposely done that way for interpretation purposes. Sure, a flat number would be awesome. But when people say 500,000 people log in every day, and then he says something like, if we were to count people who log in every 2 days, or
it'd be a lot
very
bigger.
Specifically, people who log in every Monday,
right,
then the number would be even higher. It almost leaves it up to interpretation that is the lowest the number could possibly be.
No, I don't read it that way. I don't read it that way at all. I read it as in, we don't want to give out that number, so here's some other numbers for you to look at instead. I just think it's weird. You did it. You were so proud of it 3 months in, and now we're 9-10 months in, and we haven't even talked about it or mentioned it again. It hasn't even come up.
I have to go back.
And even when you're being asked the direct question, what's that?
Did they actually say I gotta watch that again. I don't remember.
I have the PowerPoint slide.
I'll
find the bad boy.
Because I remember they were also toting consecutive logins around that time too, but I don't remember what the number was.
That it was very specific.
I think they said over 1 million consecutive logins.
It was very specific because they called it. Yeah. I'm going to pull it up here. They called it payment users. They were very specific that it was not just some generic number. Let me pull it up. Here it is. So I wrote this on XIV Nation back in November. And let me pull this over to this screen. I'm going to cover you up just for a second, and we'll go. There's Yoshi P in your camera shot. So I wrote this back on November 6th, that the numbers were above Yoshi P's 400,000 required target. And here's the slide. Current state of Final Fantasy XIV, A Realm Reborn. A Realm Reborn was launched on August 27th and achieved large sales. Disc sales were approximately 1.1 million. Digital downloads were approximately 350 million, the total being 1.45 million as of September 30th. Million? Right. Already, it says, number of payment users broke through 600,000, already exceeding the peak of Final Fantasy XI, and the footnote that they put there says most recent date. So it was the most current information at the time of the financial report. So they were very, very specific that this was a subscriber account. This was our paying users account of those individuals. And now even when the question is asked, we're not getting anything even remotely resembling. I just think it's odd. If you don't want to give it out, fine. Say, you know what, we're not going to report on subscriber numbers anymore. Okay, fine. Then at least nobody's asking anymore to me. Right now, it seems odd when you're being asked and you don't answer. It's almost like, why didn't he answer? If it's 400,000, it's 400,000. Who cares? I'm still going to play the game. But whatever. Speaking of subscribers, if you're a subscriber, the next 2 tiers of veteran rewards have been posted. And I'm a little confused. Happy, you did a video on this, and we have the exact same opinion. And I wrote this up on XIV Nation. Then I saw your video, and I was like, well, I might as well have transcribed Happy's video, because it was the same points that I was making. Okay, obviously, each rewards tier can't be better than the previous. Otherwise, by tier 10, they'll be giving away collector sets of Final Fantasy XV. I understand
I can't wait for that.
Right. I understand that each tier can't be better. Okay. I understand that these are just little bonuses that I was going to get anyway because I still intend to play the game. I understand that, too. Mm-hmm. I get that. I have a weird thing with this one, though, because Yoshi P specifically said that the 1-year veteran rewards were going to be super special. They were going to be awesome. People were going to love them. He said that. And so, okay, I would have understood if the 450-day reward was maybe not as cool as the 1-year reward. I understand that. 1 year was a special number, and they were calling it out. Let me pull this up for you guys. Let's take a look at these veteran rewards. Here's your 360 days, your rank 6 1-year rewards, and your rank 7 at 450 days. So the 1-year rewards, Odin Mount. Obviously, I like that. You know me and Minions, Happy. That's just the way it is. And then an Aetheryte ticket, which grants a free teleport and then is consumed. Now, the forums kind of went all over the place for a few days when that was posted. You can't see Happy right now, but he's doing the all over the place hands.
Yeah, all over the place.
They went nuts. Was it really just going to be a one-use ticket that saves you 500 gil? Well, that seems stupid. Was it a consumable the way minions are, right? You consume them and the item is gone, but you can summon the minion anytime. In that case, free teleports for life. Yeah, hell yeah, that's awesome. But seemed unlikely because it was a little too awesome. Finally, community manager Bayonne did comment on his Twitter, and then there were comments added to the official thread on the forums to clarify that the 1-year reward will be 50 of these tickets, and you can choose whether or not you want to use them at any given point, but they will grant you a free teleport. So essentially, they've said for subscribing for 1 year, here's something that will save you up to 25,000 gil.
Well, listen, that's quite a few buttons in a blanket, so you just got to translate it in. I got nothing.
Yeah, I mean, this really 1 year disappointing to me, and not because I think they should always be better, right? But Yoshi P specifically made a big deal about this tier, and check this out. You get a free teleport location just for having an authenticator now. Come on. Come 2.2 if you have an authenticator or you put one on your account. Even the freaking mobile authenticator, which is free, right? You get to pick one teleport location in the world, and it's always free to you. And, by the way, you can change that when you want. Presumably, it's going to have some type of cooldown. But you can change the location that's always free for you. That's a better reward than the 1 year reward to me.
Somebody's in the chat said, maybe it's an early April Fool's joke.
Oh, my God.
I don't think they would list that on the website 2 weeks in advance if it was an early April Fool's joke.
I can't be the only one disappointed about this, right?
Nah,
I was really disappointed, dude. I wrote the XIV Nation article with the headline, 1 year veteran reward, kinda sucks. I mean,
I read it.
That was just like, there's no way to sugarcoat this. This is terrible in my book. It's kind of a smack. And if Yoshi P wouldn't have said anything, I probably wouldn't be making a big deal about it. I would be like, well, that's kind of a silly reward, whatever. Kind of feel cheated for 1 year. But it was specifically called out how awesome this reward was going to be. An Odin minion, that's kind of cool. It ain't no behemoth mount.
Give me my Sleipnir mount. Forget the Barding. I don't want to go out and kill F8. Give me a Sleipnir mount.
People in the forums were like, can I just have a Fantasia potion again? That'd be awesome.
To people, that would be worth the 1 year. They'd be like, yes, I get to change my character after a whole year.
What do you think could have gone here? Seriously, though.
A mount of any kind that is bigger than the behemoth mount. And then after
I don't
that,
even think it needed to be a mount, right? I think what they could have done here is take the opportunity to give a nod to some well-beloved thing. Like, we all know that we're unlikely to see Sephiroth in the game, but if you put a Sephiroth minion as the 1 year, people would go apeshit. People would go apeshit. No, there's no way around that. Make a Sephiroth minion, and people would have gone apeshit. That would have been a great reward. Sephiroth mount, you ride around on his shoulders. I don't care.
Can I skip can I skip the 1 year reward?
But this could have
been, I think that would have been beautiful.
Great, that would have been fantastic. I think they could have used this as a nod to Final Fantasy fans in a direction where they couldn't put it in the game. Like, Lightning came to the game, so obviously 13, you don't need to do anything here. But we're unlikely to see anything Final Fantasy VII related or Final Fantasy VI related besides references to Doma and references to things. So, maybe a Sabin mount would have, or a Sabin minion. That would have been pretty badass. A little 8-bit Sabin minion. Give me that.
A little
You
8-bit
can have
Sabin
all
minion.
50 tickets. Give me an 8-bit Sabin minion. Done.
He's got to suplex the train.
I just think this would have been a good opportunity to nod to a game that wasn't likely to be entering the Eorzean universe anytime soon due to lore.
Man, that would have been cool if they had the 1 year as a Sabin minion and a Doom Train minion, so that two people come together, he suplexes the train.
Like the cat and the dog do? That'd be awesome.
Exactly. That way you have both halves of the equation.
So here's the question. I'm not the only one that feels this way. Almost every post on the forum was like, wow, that's kind of disappointing. And some of them were not that nice, saying that it was kind of disappointing. Yeah. Do you think this changes? Or is this a done deal?
I don't know. We've seen how much hating the housing prices has done. I think we can see this change as well. Though the thing now, these aren't available yet, are they? Okay, if you were to say have a 360 somehow sub right now, would you get those?
No. Some people on the forum were asking about that, and it seems, at least from what I've read on the forums as of 2 or 3 hours ago, before the show started, the 1 year is not actually in the game until 2.2.
Okay, so they have 9 days. 10 days.
Which makes me think that this probably can't change. I think it's already...
Maybe they'll just throw a 0 on the end. 500 free teleports.
I don't want free teleports. To be honest, I don't care. Like, it's cool getting the Authenticator one in one location is free. Hell, give me another one of those. That'd be kind of cool. I mean, I'd still feel a little... Well, that wasn't as exciting as I thought it was going to be. But I don't care about a free teleport here and there. Once you're 50 and you're actually playing the game daily... that type of money is no big deal to you anymore. I mean, you may not have millions and millions to buy your house or anything, but the teleporting fees are no big deal to you anymore. I don't know. I'm kind of disappointed. On the other hand, the 450-day rewards, kind of badass. The Barding of Light for the Chocobo and the Minion of Light, or the Warrior of Light minion. Pretty badass.
I'm just saying,
nice job on the thumbs up on the 450 days. I give you a thumbs up on that one.
They need to make it so you can have your minion out while you're on your mount, so you can have the Warrior of Light minion with the Barding of Light with the Warrior of Light set. I'm just saying it needs to happen.
Well, Glamour Set will do that for you. Glamour Set will
there
do
we
that
go.
for you.
Well, no, you can't have the minion out, is what I'm saying,
Right.
while you're on the mount.
All right, let's do some viewer questions and call it a night. We're like 25 minutes over our normal length here. Samuel Montanez wants to know, if you're able to change one in-game feature, how would you like to see it change? Something that's in the game right now.
That's a good question. That's a question. How have we not gotten that question in like 30-something episodes? Huh?
Yeah, this is episode 30. Episode 30.
Yeah.
I could tell you right away where mine is, and it's something that they keep saying that they're working on. I want to be able to have my damn Chocobo out and be in the duty finder.
I knew it. I knew it was the Chocobo.
I want to be able to have my Chocobo out and be in the duty finder waiting for something.
Bard limit break. There's one.
Take it off a healer and make it DPS.
Yeah, Eagle Eye Shot. Give it to me.
Brandon Sizzy submitted a question last week. Sizzy becoming a regular contributor here. Zichowski. Do you think the new relics will be obtained through trials again, like your I-80 relic, or upgradable with an item? Extreme modes, maybe? I don't think extreme modes comes into this.
Absolutely not.
I don't see them tying the relic behind extreme modes.
No, I think it's going to be something along the lines of taking your original relic and doing a quest with it. I don't think it's just going to be tomes. So too. I think you're just going to, whether you have Relic or Relic Zenith, doesn't matter. I don't think you're going to need Relic Zenith at all for this. I think just having your, because their thing is, relics are already now going to be old content, so if they're required to get these upgraded relics, then they're not going to want to make you try to get the mythology points on top of that. I just don't see it.
I agree. I see it as being a quest chain that leads to an upgrade. Sinrise, if they drop the new update on the 28th, I think you meant the 27th. If they drop the new update on the 27th, do you think Square Enix will move the reset date from Monday to Friday for the new tomestones?
No,
I say no.
I don't think that has any influence. I think all that means is you're going to have a short week for the new tombstone, so you better get grinding and hope that there's some stable servers.
Yeah, that's my answer right there, what he just said. Chris at Jeremiel wants to know, do you think the game could benefit from a master loot type feature, especially in this multiple job per character format?
I think it could benefit from it regardless. Because I mean, no matter what, you're going to have problems with people rolling on gear. If you have master loot, you have to worry about the leader being in cahoots with people or just being in it for himself. If you don't have master loot, you have to worry about people not caring what everybody else thinks. I'm hitting that need button, which is pretty much how it is right now. If you can actually use it, need it. If you can't even roll on it. I think it would. I don't think it's absolutely crazy because we don't have giant scale raids.
Right, and I think that's my answer is sure it could benefit, but it's not essential right now. Because we don't have raids that cater to that. We don't have the ability to queue as a pre-made 24 for Crystal Tower, where you would want control over who gets the loot within your guild for various reasons or within your free company. Once we get those types of raids that are bigger than just 8, I think it would be essential at that point. Can it benefit? Sure. Does it have to be put in 2.2 or 2.3? In my book, no. Happy tends to agree on that one. There he is, a long show in the bag. 2 exciting ones coming up. Michael Poveromo. You can follow him on the Twitters at Mr. Happy1227. Also check him out on YouTube and Twitch. He's streaming 14 and Diablo and Dark Souls and Final Fantasy XHD. He's got all kinds of stuff. Follow him out there. I'm Mike Byrne, a.k.a. Magic Man. You can follow me on Twitter at MagicMan1, MAGICKMANN1. Be sure to follow us here on XIVNation.com and GameBreaker.tv. Until next time, gang, stay safe, and we'll see you out on the servers.
Game Breaker TV.